We're now on to the final material before our third mini project. In this chapter, we're going to be discussing some of the basics for data analysis in Wolfram Language. We'll cover how to import data into our notebooks, how to work with time series, and also just scratch the surface of built-in functions to help with statistics and fitted models. Before we can analyze data, we need to get data into our notebook. There's a few different ways to do this, and it'll depend on the form of your data or where you're getting it from. Sometimes, like we'll see in our mini project, our data is in some kind of output from a larger computation. In that case, it's already in our notebook to work with. However, for external data, most commonly you'll use the function import that can import multiple different file types into our notebook. The formatting of that imported file will change depending on the original format. For example, if we import a CSV, we'll end up with a list of lists for the rows and columns within that file. One great resource for finding and importing data into notebooks is the Wolfram Data Repository, where users can contribute formatted datasets for easy use within a Wolfram notebook. We can get the data itself using the function resource data. This example imports a dataset. Another common form of data you'll see within the repository is time series. As I just mentioned, one way of representing data that we've seen a little bit in some previous lessons but haven't really discussed yet is how to use time series. These are a way of representing time-dependent data, like, for example, our output from audio local measurements, where the timescale is the duration of the audio file. Time series have a set of properties that we can access. The syntax will look somewhat similar to how we use functions, where we have the time series where we would have the function name, and the property where we would have the function arguments. We can see all possible properties by calling the property properties. If we want to get at the raw numbers being used, we can use the properties times and values. We're using the function thread to group together each time with its corresponding value. Some of our basic statistic functions will work directly on a time series without us needing to get all of the times and values ourselves. For example, we can put a time series right into the function mean, and also into some of our plotting functions like list-line-plot. If we want to edit or change our time series, we have specific functions to do that. If we wanted to shift the times within the series, the function timeSeriesShift takes in a time series and the amount of time we would like to shift it by. The output is another time series, so it's a little hard to see the difference at first. If we plot both our original series and the shifted series, we can see how all of the values have been moved. If we want to add in a point into our time series, it's easy to do that with the function timeSeriesInsert. Let's add in two new points. So we'll have each point as a list of the time and its corresponding value, and then we can put that into timeSeriesInsert with our original time series. Again, we can see how those have been added in if we plot both our starting time series and our time series with those additional points. Moving on from time series and more into generally working with data, just like how we use time series within a list plot and with mean, those same types of functions also work directly on lists of data. So, if we use table to create some data, we can easily pop that list into list plot and into mean. List plot is helpful for getting a visual sense of data, but beyond that, we may want a more rigorous representation of it with a fitted model. There's a few different approaches we can take, and it'll depend on the type of model we're trying to fit for. Since we made this data ourselves, we know that it should fit the equation x plus 1 squared. However, sometimes we might just be looking visually at first for what form of equation is going to fit our data. We can use that info with the functions fit and nonlinear fit to get a fitted model. Fit takes the data as the first argument, and the second argument is the general form of the model, and the third argument is the variables we're using in that general formula. If we want to try to fit an equation with the form of some constant times x squared, our second argument is just x squared. We assume every item in the formula is going to be multiplied by a constant. So if we wanted to have it in the form of c, some constant, plus a, another constant, times x squared, we would have to add a 1 to the list for our second argument. For the function nonlinear fit, it's a similar concept but a slightly different syntax. Again, our first argument is the data. The second is still the form for the model, but we explicitly write out an equation with those constants and variables instead of just assuming those constants are already there. Our third argument is a list of the constants, and then our final argument is the variables. Now that we have the models, we can use them and fit them. The output of fit is already structured as an expression in terms of x, so we can put that into something like plot directly. Nonlinear fit, however, returns an object that we call a fitted model. To use a fitted model in a plot, we need to treat it like a proper function. This means in order to make sure plot knows we want to be subbing in x for the variable inside a fitted model, we need to call it like a function with square brackets and an argument x. This chapter is really only getting started on all of the functionality for data analysis in Wolfram Language. If you're looking for further resources, check out the links in the Going Further section of the lesson notes. What you now have are the skills to get data into your notebook in a variety of ways. You know how to work with a time series as its own data type, and you've seen some basics for statistical analysis, including fitting models to data.